to the Prophecy Club, and I've got a very special guest with me today. His name is Bob Wadsworth. He's been a biblical astronomer for some 35 years. He's made several DVDs with the Prophecy Club. He has 6 years of college, astrophysics, celestial mechanics. He's an expert in interpreting the plan God has put in the heavens. The stars tell the story of mankind, he says, and they have prophesied many things, like, for example, the creation of Adam, the Exodus, the birth of Christ, his crucifixion, and we're going to talk today what they mean for us today. So, Bob, welcome back to the Prophecy Club.
Good afternoon, Stan. How are you doing today?
Wonderful, and I'm very excited to have you on. Okay, there's been some very exciting things happening in the stars lately. Tell us what's been going on.
Well, there's some exciting things that are coming up in March. A bright comet that's expected to be of a first magnitude.
Now, that means it's pretty bright, right?
Very bright. That's like about the brightness of the comet Hyakutake when it came through in '96.
Okay.
And our comet Hale-Bopp was a little bit brighter than that. But at any rate, this comet is coming in. It's going to be as brightest right around Aviv 1 or Nisan 1 on the Hebrew calendar. As a matter of fact, the comet should be visible below the first crescent light of the new moon. That would be on Aviv 1. They call that the new moon of the Aviv. Barley harvest is ripe at that time. It will be ripe 2 weeks later, Aviv stage, and that starts the month of Aviv. And this comet is right below the first crescent light of the moon, and the tail will actually be pointing towards the crescent light, and perhaps even covering the moon.
Okay, now we already know that just because the stars portray something does not necessarily mean anything is going to happen on that. However, how do you see the comet possibly tying in with future events?
Well, what's interesting, this comet is, this is very rare. You never see this happening with the first crescent light of the new moon on the first month of the feast days of Aviv, coming up. It's interesting. This is occurring in the constellation of Pisces, and that constellation represents the nation of Israel, and it's Israel going into bondage or coming out of bondage. There are signs in Pisces at the time of the Exodus. There are also signs and eclipses in Pisces at the time of the captivities of Israel, the captivities of the 10 northern tribes, and later on Judah in 586.
Well, I know that President Obama has scheduled to go to Israel in March and break open the talks and start talking about giving the Palestinians a state again. Could this comet have something to do?
Yes.
Okay, so could this comet have something to do with that?
Well, it may, according to the sages, the Jewish sages. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. They say that turning of a comet is a bad omen to Israel, or it's a bad omen to the nation where it's seen from. And we could be going same as the eclipses; they are bad omens to Israel, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit. But
okay,
anyway,
but you don't guarantee it's going to happen, but it's something to watch for. All right, now let's talk about this meteor.
It is something to watch for. And this comet is also going to go up through Andromeda, right to her midst. And that happened about 8 years ago. That happened also. A comet came through and went up to the midst of Andromeda during the feast. And at that time, there was they call it the Passover massacre, where a number of people were massacred. Place where they're holding the, Seder. That was a bad thing that happened in Israel. That was really bad. When comets appeared like that before, things have happened.
Okay, so what about this meteor? Now, I know that we were all expecting one to make a pass out in the satellite belt, but I understand there were two more that we did not know that were coming. Tell us about them.
Well, they can come in at any time, and you can't see them. Many times you can't see them because they're coming in from the sun. And it's a good thing the one that was past 17,000 miles from us, it was 150 feet across. And if that had struck the city, it would have vaporized the city. Pretty much. It was better like an atomic blast, about 10 megaton blast, a 150-foot asteroid. So you can imagine what a 1 mile wide asteroid would do if that hit. It would take out a continent. But anyway, it would have been very bad if that. It's the biggest one that hit in ages. Now these happen every year. You get many bright meteors that come down. I've seen 2 or 3 a year myself from here. Not that quite that bright. These happened all the time, and much of the time. They go into the Pacific Ocean or up to the Arctic or the Antarctic.
Well, I interviewed one person that said that now we have moved into the house of Aquarius, I believe is where they said it, and that particular house has a whole lot more meteors in it, if I said that right. Is that accurate?
I don't know. I don't think so. Matter of fact, we're not in the Aquarius now. We're still in Pisces. The sun is still in Pisces during the vernal equinox. That's how they figure that. That's all. That has to do with astrology and stuff, and they are about 2,000 years off.
Okay, well, let me tie this question back to the Pope. Now, on February 11th, of course, the Pope resigned, or announced he's going to resign, and I thought that was real interesting because within a couple of hours, there were two, not one, but two lightning strikes that hit St. Peter's Basilica. And, of course, Luke 10:18 says, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Then, that same week, Friday, February 14th, was when the meteor exploded over Russia, and Revelation 13:13 says that he doeth great wonders so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Is this God trying to say something to us? Are these signs, do you think?
Maybe. I can't say for sure, so you see how things play out here, But a number of scriptures talk about stars falling from the sky, and as a demon being cast out of the heavens, as a light falling from the sky, like Lucifer. He beheld him as lightning falling from the sky, So that's so there's a number of scriptures you can go by. These things happen all the time, so it's like it is rare to see a bright meteor like that. Humans see that very rarely. There was a bigger one that hit Russia back in 1908, I think it was, or 1911 in that area. It took out about flattened trees for miles around, but people didn't see that one. These happen sometimes.
Yeah, you're talking about the Tunguska event. Now let's talk about the blood red moons. Tell us, first of all, what is the difference between a blood moon versus a regular moon eclipse?
All eclipses are not blood red eclipses. Blood red eclipses is where you have a certain angle of the sun and the moon and the earth, and where the sun's light goes around the earth, on the outside of the earth, where you have sunrises on one side and sunsets on the other, and it casts that shadow on the moon as red because the sun sets and sunrises. There has to be a certain angle on it. It has to be dead on straight, And this occurs, quite a bit, where you have the moon turns a rusty color or a blood reddish color.
Okay, but the part that doesn't happen very often is when they happen on feast days.
That happens about every 19 years. At least in the last 100 years they have. What's interesting is we had 4 of them happening in 1996 and 97, where they were all visible from Israel. There were total eclipses of the moon. 3 of them were seen fully from Israel or from Jerusalem, and 1 was partially seen.
Well,
and the first one was a blood red moon over Jerusalem on the Passover. That was quite a stunning sight to see, because it represents many things. The blood represents the atoning blood of the Messiah. It could also represent blood in the war. And so the blood red moon is a big sign in that sense. Especially when it happens on the Passover, it's a big sign in heaven.
Well, I interviewed Mark Biltz, and Mark was saying that, for example, when Moses left on the Exodus, that happened on a blood red moon. The Spanish Inquisition of 1492, there were 4 blood red moons in 1493 and 1494. In other words, not every time, of course, but many times when there is a blood red moon on a feast day, there's a significant event take place. Is that accurate?
Well, back in 96, 97, there was a lot going on in Israel. The Intifada started later on, but there's some significant events going on at that time. They thought they were going for war. Everybody was mobilizing their troops, Syria, Iraq, and everything, especially in September when that one came up. What's interesting about the ones in 2014, 2015, well, for one thing, none of those are going to be visible from Israel. They will be visible for the United States. Now, the ones in 96, 97 were visible from Israel. Then there will be 4 again that will occur in 2032, 2033, and those 4 on the feast days will be visible from Israel again. And what is interesting about these eclipses, now the moon and the sun have a certain cycle they go through, and a certain eclipse has a Saros number connected to it. In other words, this eclipse will happen over and over again every 19 years, and it'll be, but not always on the feast days. The eclipses that happen in 96 and 97, all 4 of them have different numbers, but the ones happening in 2014, 2015 all have the same numbers as the one in 1996 and 97. And the ancients always consider this the same eclipse. So the eclipses that happen in 96, 97 are basically the same eclipses that will be occurring and 2014 and 2015, and the same eclipses will occur in 2032 and 2033. And 2032 and 33 will be the last time that those eclipses all occur on the feast days. They will slip into a different time, but all these, for the last 96, 97, 14, 15, 32, and 33, all three of those Saros numbers, all three of those eclipses occur on the feast days, which is interesting. They're visible from Israel, then the next time they're visible from the United States, the next time they're visible from Israel again.
Well, I know that there's a lot of stuff out on the internet that says the four, for example, that are happening, and I'll just give you the dates: April 15th, 2014,
right.
October 8th, 2014, April 4th, 2015, September 28th, 2015. A lot of folks say, oh, Jesus is coming. I don't agree with that.
Well,
what do you say on that?
I say they're also happening in 2032 and 33. It's going to happen again. But we don't know. 7 years after 2033 is 2040. I have 2040 as that date that the 7 years starts. But anyway, I could be wrong there. But I would say that these. Yeah,
that's a good point. I've mentioned that several times. Tell us, why do you pick 2040? And of course, I know you say that the stars portray that, but why? Tell us, why do you say 2040 for the start of the tribulation and 2047 for the return of Jesus?
Well, that's a whole show in itself.
Give us the quick version.
I'll give you a quick version as I can. I have the creation date as 3961 BC. And all the events that have occurred since then, the birth of Abraham, the Exodus, the birth of Jesus, etc., 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 all happened with different signs.
We'll be right back after this message. God is speaking to Augusto Perez with angel visits audibly and has given him 44 dreams and visions, showing him some amazing things about the future of America and the world. In End of Times, his topics are the Great Shaking, the coming famine, the double portion outpouring, the coming attack on the U.S., the Great Darkness, the super devaluation of the dollar, and how God will protect his own. In 1991, Leslie and I went on a 2-week archaeological tour with Ron Wyatt. We walked all over Noah's Ark, brought back a piece of it, and we made it into a new DVD called Noah's Ark Confirms the Bible. Topics are: what is gopher wood, pictures of Noah's Ark, the core drill, the lab test, radar scans, Turkey recognizes this Noah's Ark, Drogue anchor stones, Noah's Ark Confirms the Bible, $20, DVD End of Times gift of $30. Get both for a gift of just $35. You want to order the January gift offer, go online to prophecyclub.com or call 785-266-1112. The February gift offer is Angels at Work. Prophet Leslie tells of many examples in her life in which the Lord set forth his angels to bring back lost items, keep her loved ones out of harm's way, and comforted her in difficult times and directed her footsteps. You will learn how to call on ministering spirits in time of need, be uplifted, encouraged, and build your faith. In True or False Prophecies, also by Prophet Leslie, she helps you to recognize the lies and false information that can lead you away from the truth. Topics are: recognize a true or false prophecy or prophet, receive the best blessings, receive a double blessing, recognize the anointing for the spirit of prophecy. Then, Will You Survive America's Fall by Doug Metzger is talking about how he had a very radical salvation and God began to immediately give him visions. He shares 16 visions of America's future, and he was shown how unspeakable torment is coming to America to turn us back to God. Topics are: America the Fallen Tree, vision of how the church was formed, vision of a nuclear missile, 12 cities destroyed, a million voices screaming, 2 explosions, 10-to-1 inflation, dollar becomes worthless, the begging woman and the turnstile, the great betrayal, only prayer is protection, and the greatest horror and revival at the same time. Angels at Work, $20. True or False Prophecies, $30. Will You Survive America's Fall, $30. 3 DVDs valued at $80 for a gift of just $45. It's the February gift offer, available at prophecyclub.com or calling 785-266-1112. And now, back to the program.
Etc., 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 all happen with different signs. And if you go from 3961, they happen exactly when they're supposed to happen, all the way down through. You can't see it in your time. So everything fits like a hand in a glove. You know, it's real tight. But anyway, 3961 BC, I have it for the creation of Adam, and I have charts and stuff to show where the planets were at the time. What's interesting about year 2040, there's a great sight in the heavens. That's all the bright planets are going to be in Bethula, was the first crescent light of the new moon on Tishri 1. So on that day, on the feast date. That just happens to be, in 3961 BC, I had the creation, the fall of Adam.
Okay, well, a lot of people believe that Jesus will return on Rosh Hashanah. Do you see that also?
Right. It's exactly 6,000 years from the creation of Adam in 3961 BC, in the fall of that year, to the fall of 2040, Tishri 1. Tishri 1 to Tishri 1, 6,000 years exactly. And 7 years later will be Tishri 1, 2047, and that's when he returns, I believe.
Wow.
That would be 6,000 years from the fall of Adam.
Have you worked this all up in a paper or a DVD or somewhere?
A DVD set I have on it.
Okay, now...
The whole set covers all the events that occurred. There's 3 DVDs in it. One covers constellations and the events that occurred from Adam through Yeshua, and then the third one is on all the events of the end times. They all tie in together in the timeline.
Okay, and how, if they want to get that, how do they get that DVD set?
The website is www.biblicalastronomy.com. BIBLEASTRONOMY.com. Biblicalastronomy.com. And once you enter the website, there's a yellow bar at the bottom, and it has a product section. It says products. You just go to the product section, and the products are available to order there.
Now, I understand they can also subscribe to your monthly newsletter.
Yes, that's $12 for a 1-year subscription.
Okay, that's all on the website, biblicalastronomy.com.
Right, it's all on the website. The DVD set I'm talking about it's called the Biblical Astronomy DVD set, or A Voice Crying in the Heavens. That's a DVD set. So not the video set. I no longer have any of those video sets. I don't know if you do or not. I just have the DVDs.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you another question. Is there anything that the stars portray that may be happening this year or next year? Something real close?
Well, first of all, we had that comet coming in on Aviv 1.
Yeah. If
the probability is right, that's a big sign there, especially it's a bright comet. If it is bright, it could poop out, could fizzle out. Sometimes they do. But it's expected to be a bright comet so far. We'll see what happens in a few weeks. Then there's another very bright comet. It's expected to be the brightest comet ever seen. That's going to occur in November of 2013, this year. It's about November 28th, and it goes around the sun. It is expected to be at one point, it'd be close to the sun at the time, maybe a little hard to see, but at one point it is expected to be as bright as the full moon.
Wow.
Not as big as bright as, though.
Wow. Well,
that's the brightest comet ever seen. They expect it to be in history.
And I guess, is that maybe connected somehow to a feast day in there? Surely there's...
Well, it's November 28th. They just want to put Hanukkah in there. It might be in there. I don't know. But it would be bright. It would be before. It is after it might start to come into brightness around Tabernacles.
Well, is there? You care to make a guess as to what that it might be a sign of?
It's in Scorpio, so it's a conflict between, the woman's seed and the serpent seed. It's all about this conflict. It's about the ongoing war. There's nothing specific on it yet. Sometimes you just don't get specific things. You just get the signs in general, what they mean.
Now, sometimes you get all excited about something that the stars are saying, oh, boy, this could really be really important, and then the date comes and goes and nothing happens, right?
Not necessarily nothing happens. Something happens, but not the big stuff, Not sometimes expecting like back in 96, 97, I was expecting, bigger things to come up, like the tribulation to start. Because the signs were so big, all of them put together were huge at that time. It did portray the Great Tribulation, and it's the only time in history where it portrays it in such a way. There's no other time in history where it does. So it was portrayed back then, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we had you on a speaking tour and told a lot of folks that it could be happening, but it didn't happen. But sometimes things do happen. Okay, now, you wanted to tell us more about the eclipses.
According to the Jewish age, it isn't that necessarily that they're right or wrong, but eclipses that are seen from Israel are considered bad omens. And eclipses that are seen from other nations are bad omens to those nations, so they're viewed from there. As I said earlier, the eclipses that happened in 96 and 97 were viewed from Israel, and the eclipses coming up are as viewed from the United States as bad omens. really twist into it. Things are not going too well for us right now, as you know. That's not a laughing matter, actually, but the things are not going too well for the United States, and so this could very well be playing along with that. And then in 2032, 33, those eclipses will be visible from Israel again. So that's basically what the Jewish sages have on the eclipses, and not necessarily true or false, you know.
Well, one of the things that's real frustrating about the stars is sometimes they say something, but then a lot of times it doesn't come to pass on that time, but then maybe it does the next time it rolls around.
That's just the way it is. I mean, can't have the tribulation occurring every year, you know. Sometimes what was happening in 96, 97, for instance, was a whole bunch of very rare events were occurring, like 1 in 2,000, 1 in 1,000 year events. They were all occurring in the constellations that were pertinent to the tribulation and going in right in the order that tribulation would go into, and the timing was a 3.5 year period, just like the tribulation is supposed to be, and all these events were occurring right at the right time, at the right place, and everything. And that does not happen. That's the only time in history, as a matter of fact, that happened. I checked out the last 6,000 years to the next 5,000 years, and that's the only time that event is portrayed like that. Sometimes they happen when the event happens. Sometimes it's years later, like as I mentioned earlier. They're expecting a great event to occur when Moses was born. There were events that occurred when Moses was born that they did not know about until 80 years later, where he finally came about to deliver Israel. Right. They were looking for him.
Right. Okay, explain this one. Revelation 12, there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. She being with child, delivering, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And all of that, I understand, is all a astronomical sign. Okay, explain that for us.
Well, it's that she's clothed with the sun. That means the sun, that the woman is represented in the heavens by Bethula or Virgo. And she has the 12 stars above her head. That's talking about all the other 12 signs, including her. The 12 signs that explain what's going on in the heavens, okay? So those 12 stars are the 12 signs. And on Tishri 1, she will be clothed with the sun and the moon beneath her feet. You would see the first crescent light of the new moon, and that would be Tishri 1. And when she's clothed with the sun, every 2 to 3 years, she is seen with the moon beneath her feet. You know, it's not every 2 or 3 years you're going to have a tribulation, you know, but when the tribulation does occur, that sign will be in the heavens. It's like all the time, every time a major biblical event occurs, every time throughout history, there's one thing that happens that's in common. Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, which is Zedek, is always in the constellation or the sign representing the event that's occurring when it happens. It takes 12 years for Jupiter to make a circuit through the heavens, so approximately one sign per year. And so, but not every time that Jupiter is in that sign doesn't mean the event's going to happen, but when the event does happen, Jupiter will be in the sign.
Okay, well, very interesting.
That's very simple. It took me 30 years to figure that out. It wasn't, it's a very simple thing, but it took a long time to figure that one out.
Okay.
See it. Well, going through different events in time to see what happened and stuff, it took a long time to look at that one.
Well, Bob, glad to have you on. Go ahead and give us your website again.
It's www.biblicalastronomy.com. Biblicalastronomy.com.
All right, well, God bless you. Thanks for being on.
Well, thank you for having me, Stan.
All right, once again, folks, if you'd like to find out more about what he has, it's biblicalastronomy.com. And we do thank you for listening. We thank you for your prayers and your gifts of support to the Prophecy Club. God bless.
Brothers and sisters, God wants us to help his side win the battle for souls. The Prophecy Club is on the tip of God's spear. Join the battle and prayerfully consider supporting the Prophecy Club with your gifts of support. We would not be here without your prayers and generous financial support.
Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. God is speaking to Augusto Perez with angel visits audibly and has given him 44 dreams and visions, showing him some amazing things about the future of America and the world. In End of Times, his topics are the Great Shaking, the coming famine, the double portion outpouring, the coming attack on the U.S., the great darkness, the super devaluation of the dollar, and how God will protect His own. In 1991, Leslie and I went on a 2-week archaeological tour with Ron Wyatt. We walked all over Noah's Ark, brought back a piece of it, and we made it into a new DVD called Noah's Ark Confirms the Bible. Topics are: what is gopher wood, pictures of Noah's Ark, the core drill, the lab test, radar scans, Turkey recognizes this Noah's Ark, Drogue anchor stones, Noah's Ark Confirms the Bible, $20, DVD End of Times gift of $30, get both for a gift of just $35. You want to order the January gift offer, go online to prophecyclub.com or call 785-266-1112. The February gift offer is Angels at Work. Prophet Leslie tells of many examples in her life in which the Lord set forth His angels to bring back lost items, keep her loved ones out of harm's way, and comforted her in difficult times and directed her footsteps. You will learn how to call on ministering spirits in time of need, be uplifted, encouraged, and build your faith. In True or False Prophecies, also by Prophet Leslie, she helps you to recognize the lies and false information that can lead you away from the truth. Topics are: recognize a true or false prophecy or prophet, receive the best blessings, receive a double blessing, recognize the anointing for the spirit of prophecy. Then, Will You Survive America's Fall by Doug Metzger is talking about how he had a very radical salvation and God began to immediately give him visions. He shares 16 visions of America's future, and he was shown how unspeakable torment is coming to America to turn us back to God. Topics are: America the Fallen Tree, vision of how the church was formed, vision of a nuclear missile, 12 cities destroyed, a million voices screaming, 2 explosions, 10-to-1 inflation, dollar becomes worthless, the begging woman and the turnstile, the great betrayal, only prayer is protection, and the greatest horror and revival at the same time. Angels at Work, $20. True or False Prophecies, $30. Will You Survive America's Fall, $30. 3 DVDs valued at $80 for a gift of just $45. It's the February gift offer, available at prophecyclub.com or calling 785-266-1112. I just made my new 4 DVD set, Daniel Verse by Verse version 2.0, with lots of new material. You're gonna love it. I used over 400 slides, 350 pictures, 53 maps, 18 charts. Perhaps for the first time in your life, you'll begin to understand Daniel. I answer some tough questions like: have the sorrows begun? Is the tribulation 3.5 years or 7? Who are the last 6 world governments? What bloodline, empire, region does the Antichrist come from? And how to recognize the Antichrist. What does the Antichrist do to gain control? Who is the leopard in prophecy? And what 3 prophecies still must be fulfilled before Jesus can return? Daniel Verse by Verse version 2.0, 8 hours, 4 DVDs, gift of $75, or you can upgrade for 1.0 for a gift of $30 or more. ProphecyClub.com, call 785-266-1112. As prophecy students, we know an emergency is heading our way, and the average person can go over 30 days without food, but no more than 3 days without clean water. In the event of an emergency, you must have clean water almost immediately. One of the primary causes of death in emergencies is not lack of food, but rather drinking contaminated water. You can run water from a mud puddle through a Berkey and drink it. You can have clean water when others are getting sick from drinking bug-infested water. Your filter must work without pressurized water or electricity, which is why the missionaries choose Berkey. You can get a Go Berkey for $139, but I recommend you get the Royal Berkey with 4 filters for $364. I personally use the Crown with 8 filters for all my daily water needs. A Royal Berkey looks like a large stainless steel coffee pot, 9 inches wide by 20 inches tall, with 4 black filters. It processes over a gallon an hour for a gift of $364. Call 785-266-1112. Ask for the Royal Berkey, 785-266-1112, or the Crown Berkey with 8 filters. Or see the entire line of Berkeys by going to prophecyclub.com.